Thomas Simpson was a rising star, a brilliant explorer, a sharp-minded adventurer, and a man who seemed destined for greatness. Yet in 1840, his life was cut short under circumstances so bizarre that they still raise questions today. Officially, his death was labeled a suicide, but the details didn't add up. A man shot twice, witness accounts that contradicted each other, a powerful company eager to close the case. Something didn't feel right. Was he betrayed by his own men? Silenced by a powerful organization? Or did his own mind turn against him in the harsh wilderness? This isn't just another forgotten tragedy. It's a mystery that refuses to die. Before we get to the mystery, let's talk about who Thomas Simpson was and why his death caused such an uproar. Born in Scotland in 1808, Simpson was a mathematician and explorer who worked for the Hudson's Bay Company, one of the most powerful trading companies of its time. He was incredibly intelligent, ambitious, and obsessed with mapping out the Arctic, a region that was still largely unknown to the Western world. His expeditions were dangerous. Brutally cold temperatures, uncharted lands, and the constant threat of starvation or attack made survival a daily battle. But Simpson thrived under pressure. In fact, he was considered one of the most promising explorers of his generation. That's what makes his death so unsettling. How does a man who survived some of the harshest environments on Earth suddenly die under suspicious circumstances in the middle of familiar territory? Thomas Simpson's final journey was supposed to be another step toward cementing his legacy as a brilliant explorer. He had already made a name for himself by mapping uncharted Arctic territories, pushing the boundaries of human endurance, and earning the respect of both his peers and the powerful Hudson's Bay Company. But this expedition would not end in triumph. It would end in bloodshed, confusion, and controversy. The expedition took a dark turn when tensions among the men began to rise. Simpson, known for his intelligence and leadership, was also a man with a strong will and an unwavering belief in his own vision. Some say this confidence bordered on arrogance, creating friction between him and his traveling companions. Others claim that the men with him had their own agendas, ones that didn't align with Simpson's. Whatever the case, by the time they reached the Red River colony, the atmosphere within the group was tense, distrustful, and ready to explode. Something happened during those final days, something that pushed the situation past the point of no return. Witnesses claimed that Simpson had grown increasingly paranoid, believing his life was in danger. But was he simply losing his grip on reality, or was there truly a plot against him? The official story states that, overwhelmed by fear and stress, Simpson turned his gun on himself. But those who knew him best refused to believe that version of events. What really happened during those last moments? Did he confront his companions, leading to a deadly altercation? Was he ambushed, his death disguised as a suicide to protect the guilty? Or was there a deeper conspiracy at play, one that ensured the truth would never come to light? One thing is certain, Thomas Simpson's final expedition did not go as planned, and whatever happened out there in the wilderness sealed his fate in one of history's most perplexing unsolved mysteries. Thomas Simpson's death was officially ruled a suicide, but from the very beginning, there were disturbing inconsistencies in the story. The most glaring issue was the fact that he had been shot twice. It's not impossible, but it's highly unusual. If the first shot was fatal, how did he manage to fire another? If it wasn't, how could he have mustered the strength to pull the trigger a second time? This detail alone raised immediate doubts. Then there was the matter of the people who found him. The men who had been traveling with him, his own companions, were quick to report that he had taken his own life. Yet their stories didn't align perfectly. Some claimed he had grown increasingly paranoid, fearing that people were out to get him. Others seemed surprisingly indifferent, almost as if they expected his death, or even wanted it. The inconsistencies in their statements only made things murkier. His brother, Alexander Simpson, was one of the first to publicly reject the suicide theory. He knew his brother well and didn't believe Thomas was capable of such an act. He was convinced that the men traveling with him had either killed him or allowed something terrible to happen. And if that was the case, why would they lie? Was it to protect themselves? Or were they protecting someone else? The Hudson's Bay Company, which had sponsored Simpson's expeditions, had its own reasons for wanting the matter closed as quickly as possible. If foul play was involved, an investigation could have drawn unwanted attention to the company's operations. There was speculation that Simpson's death was swept under the rug to avoid political or financial complications. A scandal would have disrupted business, and in those times, business came before justice. Even the location of his death was suspicious. He had been found near the Red River colony, far from where he was last seen. How did he end up there? Who was with him in those final moments? And why did no one seem to have clear answers? Every known fact about his death only seemed to create more confusion instead of offering closure. There are several theories about what truly happened to Thomas Simpson, but none of them can be proven beyond doubt. The most widely accepted theory is that he was murdered by the very men he traveled with. If Simpson had been acting paranoid, it's possible that his companions saw him as a threat. Maybe he accused them of treachery, or maybe he simply became inconvenient. Killing him would have been an easy way to silence him, and calling it suicide would have ensured no one asked too many questions. Another possibility is that his death was part of a larger cover-up orchestrated by the Hudson's Bay Company. Simpson was a brilliant man, but he wasn't always easy to control. If he had stumbled upon something the company wanted kept secret, perhaps illegal activities or political dealings, they might have seen him as a liability. In this case, his death wouldn't have been the result of personal betrayal, but of corporate greed and power. Of course, there's still the possibility that Simpson did in fact take his own life. The Arctic was a brutal place, and prolonged isolation, exhaustion, and stress could have pushed him to the edge. If his paranoia had reached an extreme level, he might have genuinely believed that his life was in danger, even if it wasn't. In his mind, pulling the trigger might have been the only way to escape the enemies he imagined were closing in on him. But the most frustrating part of this mystery? The truth may never be known. The people who could have revealed what really happened are long gone, and any written records that might have existed have either been lost or intentionally erased. What remains is a tangled mess of suspicion, unanswered questions, and a legacy overshadowed by mystery. So why does this story still matter? Because it highlights how easily history can be manipulated. A promising explorer, on the brink of greatness, dies under suspicious circumstances, and the official version of events doesn't match the evidence. It's a reminder that even the most documented cases can be filled with secrets. To this day, no one knows for sure what happened to Thomas Simpson. His case remains one of history's greatest unsolved mysteries, one that still invites speculation, even nearly 2 centuries later. And here's the kicker. There may still be documents, letters, or hidden accounts that could reveal the truth. But until then, his story remains an eerie, unsolved puzzle. Now, here's a question for you. If you were in Thomas Simpson's position, would you have trusted the men around you? Or would you have seen the danger before it was too late? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Was this a murder, a cover-up, or something even stranger? And if you want more mind-blowing historical mysteries that still haven't been solved, hit that notification bell so you don't miss the next one. Because trust me, this isn't the only case where history left us with more questions than answers.